Okay, let's talk about Homewood. Alright, Homewood. It's a mental health institution, hospital, psychiatric hospital, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's usually a 2.5 to 3 month stint. They deal with people with eating disorders. They deal with elderly, seniors with mental illness. They have programs on, it's called the IMAP, which is integral moods and anxiety program, which apparently isn't very good. Somebody told me that was actually instructing in it there for a while. She left because the program was so bad. There's a PTSD, which they call the PTSR program, which is post-traumatic stress and recovery, which is no such thing as recovery. It's just post-traumatic stress and fucking coping strategies. They should call it PTSCS. ACS is what they should really call the condition, and coping strategies. That's all they teach is coping strategies. Ways to deal with it. They can't make it go away. They have a place where you can go there, which I can't remember the name of it now, if you haven't been diagnosed with anything, or if they feel your illness is complicated, they can pull you out of the program that you paid for and send you to this other place where I call it where all the crazies go. People who wear their shirts inside out and they're pretty messed up. A place where they give you ECT, electric shock therapy, against your will if they want to, that kind of shit. So, yeah. They also have a program for the addictions program, which is the biggest one there. People come from all over the world to go to this addictions program. Usually they go from the addictions program into the anxiety program or into the PTSD program, depending on the kind of trauma that got them to drink or smoke, I guess, in the first place for most of their lives. So you do this paperwork first. You have to get a referral from your doctor, and then you have to do this application. Then you send the application in, and then you wait several weeks for them to approve you for the program. I had my psychiatrist call me and talk to me for 2 or 3 minutes and say, yes, you can come to my program. I look forward to seeing you. And it's just bullshit, because when you get there, they don't spend much time seeing you anyway, like twice in like 2.5 to 3 months. It's ridiculous. Then they give you your starting day. The cost Canadian is like $14,000 to $16,000. OHIP doesn't cover it, so they expect pretty much payment in full for the most part. You may get to do half and half if you're lucky, or most of it in the beginning and the rest before the end. If you have your vehicle, it costs over $100 a week to park in their parking place there. Anyways, they'll give you a date. Usually I waited 2 to 3 months each time. I went there 3 times for 2 different programs, and I was going to get sent to the intensive area there. They have a name for it. I can't remember the name of it anymore. This was years ago I went. And I didn't want to go because I didn't like what the doctor how he was treating me. He wasn't treating me like a human being, and I didn't like him. I felt like I wasn't going to be safe under his care. So I walked against medical advice. Yeah. Anyway, that was that. So then about 3 months later, you pack your suitcase and, I drove there. It's a big, long fucking building. You walk in the Homewood, where it has a sign Homewood there, the front building there. You walk in and they have this little area and you spend the next 2 hours sitting there waiting your turn. You go to the back room and they make sure your insurance, because my insurance paid for it back then. But anyways, they basically do that, and then when that gets all approved, or they get their check from you, you move out, you wait, somebody comes and picks you up, and, some volunteer, and it's a big long hallway. There's an area where there's a gift shop, there's a library, there's a little chapel, there's a big area outside that you can walk with a lot of grounds and, a trail area with trees over to the left, a smoking area outside. Anyways, it's kind of like going to college, I guess, or school, basically, unless you're admitted, to the psychiatric area where you're not allowed to have free reign. You can come and go as you please from the hospital. You can go shopping, do whatever the hell you want, drive around in your car. The weekends is not much that goes on, so people that come from afar, they have to occupy their own times on the weekends. But you basically go in, the first few hours, they bring you to your area. There's like different areas in like this. It's like a mall setting almost. There's a big cafeteria, 3 meals a day, that type of deal. There's an area where you can get sandwiches and chips or chocolate bars. There's also a hospital across the way where you can go in there and get sandwiches or whatever that you want. If you're hungry in between the meals or whatever. So that happens. You go there and basically when you're done with that interview process or whatever, then you go to the other area where your new home will be for the next 2.5 months. And it's like a barracks. You go in and there's doors on both sides there. If you share with 4 other people or you share with another person with a semi or you have your own room, that depends on the cost and what it's going to cost you. So they put you in your room and you got like your own little closet. You get a single bed. Sometimes you have a window. Sometimes you're on the other side where there's not a window. Some of the rooms, you have a bathroom that you share, usually in the semis. You have a bathroom you can share with your roommate. That type of deal. They keep girls with girls, boys with boys. They don't mix like that. Anyways, they do that, and then somebody comes in and asks you a few questions for their paperwork, and I don't know. I don't really remember now. They might have checked my blood pressure or whatever, and then they disappear, and that's basically it. The next day you go to classes. You start going to classes. It's usually, for one day you do that because I believe maybe it's early in the week that you arrive. I don't know. Anyway, that's fine. So, they're like 1-hour classes, basically 45 minutes to 1 hour. And you go to different areas, and every day, Monday to Friday, and you learn about whatever. Then at the end of the day, everybody gets together before everybody goes their own ways, doing their own thing, and they ask to do body check and see if everybody's all right. You're allowed to talk to a nurse every day after your classes, and then everybody disperses and does their own things. You have to be back by 10 o'clock at night because they lock the doors, and they lock your doors to your areas. where you're sleeping and staying. Like there's a common room that will have like a TV and chairs, a few couches, and a few tables to play cards, that type of deal. And then there's like just a big hallway basically with all the rooms, and that's where you put all your stuff, or you hang out in your friends' rooms. Well, if they let you. Sometimes they just make rules where they make you go to the common area, and they tell you you're not allowed to hang out in the rooms. So people usually go out or go downtown or hang out. I don't know where they hang out. They hang out all over the place. They're never there until, like 8 or 9 in the evening. And then everybody will have snacks or whatever that they'll bring back from like the restaurants or whatever. And they'll all be eating and, having snacks or whatever. And then everybody's in bed by 11 o'clock at night, 10, 11 o'clock. You're up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Everybody, that shares the common area there will actually, we're all brushing our teeth and getting dressed and getting ready, using the washroom facilities, getting ready for class. And, yeah. And there's usually 2 classes in the morning, then lunch for an hour. You convene the lunch for an hour, then another 2 classes in the afternoon. 2 hours of classes. Usually the afternoon has a class called Process Group, and that's where everybody kind of sits in a group there and they talk about their traumas and stuff, and that everybody has to listen to everybody's stories for that hour, which is quite triggering for everybody. And they have an art class where you get to, draw your traumas with paint or whatever, splash it on paper, or draw your trauma through art. And they have a place where you can do ceramics. They'll have like a gym class in the beginning where you get to go and play volleyball or whatever. They have little classrooms where you go in and they have a big board up and stuff, and they talk about different things with, I don't know, PTSD or whatever it is you're dealing with. And then and it's the end of the day. You do this for like 2.5 months. Of course, you don't do anything on the weekends, but of course they'll continue feeding you on the weekends. So you can come and go as you please, as long as you're back by 10 p.m. Otherwise, they'll come out looking for you. Yeah. That's Homewood. Not a lot of fun, very intense. The things that they teach you, it's so severe that in my area, my PTSR program, there was 3 of us that were really strong, quite a bit older, and we each had a big meltdown, and all 3 of us almost died after the first 6 weeks of this program. It's very intensive. There's a lot of therapy, there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of pain involved mentally. You stand in line, of course, for your medications for the first couple weeks, and then you can start taking your own medications. But mentally, the exhaustion is so severe that you just get to a place where you're just you're like mentally exhausted. You're a mess, and if you're not careful, it can cause a big problem. Anyway, I made it through. So did everybody else. Nobody died there. But you have to learn how to unwind, and you have to learn how to take it easy when you go through the program, because it is very difficult. So, that's Homewood. And Homewood is in Guelph, Ontario, Canada. Okay.